Yeah, I think all we need to do is the point of contact will actually be the LoCo Council. The LoCo Council, to me, the email from Launchpad is less interesting when one of the LoCo Council members says, "Just wanted to let you know you're up for reapproval in this meeting." And we can really streamline the reapproval process.
Well, we need to, because at the moment there's a lot of teams that are going to need reapproval.
Right.
I mean, when you look in the LoCo directory, there's an awful lot that are 14th of June 2010.
Yeah.
And so get those all on that day, then
so what I recommend we do is we just pick a bunch of teams that achieve this cycle.
Yeah.
And then we'll have that as a to-do list. So maybe Effie, if you can hear me. Effie, if you'd be happy grabbing a list of all the teams that have not been approved yet, reapproved, that are in the approved teams list. And Effie, if you can do that for us, I am here. Oh my God, it's weird talking through computers. Like, this is like Dragon Dip taking the next level.
Main screen on.
So yeah, Effie, if you could basically look at the approved list and then mentally take out all of the ones that have been through the reapproval process and build that list, and then we'll use that as the to-do list for the next cycle, and then we'll work with the LoCo Council to see what's a reasonable target.
So who's going to dictate the reapproval process? The actual data. What do we do?
We can talk about that as well. I just think that, let's say we pick 15 teams, and then we'll just assign it to the different council members and say, Toby will look after this team.
And are we expecting them to come to a meeting on IRC, or are we expecting them to do it via mailing lists? Because the ones, when we tried this in the past, we said, look, we've got a meeting coming up on this date, and they go, all right, so yeah. Do you go, donk, you're not approved then? Okay, so do you be flexible?
So I think the choice of 3 meetings, there's one each month, isn't there? So
yeah.
If we do this in the next 6 month cycle, then you have a choice of 6 meetings to choose from.
Yeah,
obviously, you don't want everybody choosing the last one.
I think we can flesh that out. I just want to keep us focused on the list right now, and then we'll get into the process and we'll flesh that out. So right now, define the list. So you're going to make sure that all the approved teams are actually in there, and Effie is going to get a list of the teams that we know of right now that haven't been reapproved.
Okay.
And
approved teams who've not been reapproved.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I'm just going to note that down, Effie. He's doing it wicked. Thanks, Effie. So determine the list of teams that are in LoCo teams approved that have not been through the reapproval process.
It'll be a big list.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge list, right? So
I fully anticipate there'll be some which are very obviously idle.
Sure, and we can define them, and this is.
It might be worth picking off the idlers, because that gives us the opportunity to.
So what I think we should do is pick a list of the target list, and then we'll have a backup list as well. I mean, the backup list is basically everyone else, but I think if we have a target list, then we can just divide it up equally between the councils.
125 teams.
Okay, so we'll have that list. So Effie, could you connect to the Gobby document and paste in the first 30 teams, and then we'll use that as we'll put that as the roadmap. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying all 30.
No, it's fine.
Do you think that'll be a reasonable goal?
I think put it in. If we hit it, great. If we don't,
just stick it at the end of the document, Effie, and then we'll go from there. This is collaboration at its finest.
It's like talking to like a robot doing stuff for you.
I think Jono does need multiple screens just to sit there and talk to people. Maybe you do this, and it appears on the screen.
This is great. It's like war games. All right, no worries, Effie. So maybe while Effie's doing that, we can talk about the process.
Yep.
So now we've now got an idea of the teams, and we'll have this to do list of teams. I'm just going to note down as the second objective is to reapprove those teams. So reapprove an agreed set of LoCo teams. Sorry. Okay.
Such shame Effie's not here.
Yeah. So each team has been through the reapproval process, and then we'll list each team in here, and then I'll paste them in. Then we'll come back to that.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So you wanted to talk about the reapproval process itself. What do you see? What's the problem? I mean, it's just
Okay. First of all, there's the initial first contact. How do we go about? I mean, we can ping them on IRC. We can mail them. But as Effie says, mailing did not work. They just don't reply.
these are the admins.
Yes.
So each of the admins is mailed with the mail that says, "Hi, we're the LoCo Council. We're going to do a reapproval process. We'd like you to provide this information." Okay. In my mind, see what everyone else thinks, but in my mind, if we email them, let's say 3 times over the period of maybe a month, and they don't reply, then we should demote them.
Well, I think too, like if you email the contact and they don't answer, then you find the IRC channel that they're in and you make contact in the IRC channel just to make sure that that contact, something didn't happen, they didn't move, they're not out of the country, heaven forbid they got hit by a bus, whatever.
Yeah.
That, and then you make that second contact via IRC to make sure you've got the right
Yeah.
contact.
Well, as well, try one of the local members as well, just in case, like the contact's gone somewhere or not able to access them for a month.
I'm just thinking, one thing I think we should be conscious of is, the LoCo Council volunteers as well as not making it too much of a mission. So like maybe if
Yeah, but it's not too much effort to send in the space of a month, send 3 emails and try IRC and a mailing list. Have a look on their mailing list. Okay, it's slightly more difficult for personally for non-English speaking mailing lists, but it's doable.
So maybe the process is going to be maybe pick a month as the period first of all, because that will accommodate things like holidays and someone going off the grid for a little bit. Maybe so contact each of the admins 3 times over the space of a month, and then maybe if that is unfruitful, maybe try and contact a couple of members, and then at that point, to me, it's like if there isn't a leader of the team, the team's not got any direction. That in itself is reason enough to unapprove it, in my mind. Because LoCo teams generally need a sense of is when they're effective. Like if they're not doing anything, they're ineffective. Then they're not. Then the purpose of the approval. The purpose of the approval framework is that we can have confidence to send them 500 shipment CDs, and they're going to make use of them. Not that someone will just say, "I want all these CDs," and it'll sit in someone's bedroom and it's wasteful, or you know what I mean. Like, so I'm conscious that we shouldn't be unafraid. We shouldn't be afraid of devoting teams if it's absolutely necessary. And the other thing is that a team can reapply for approval.
List of approved teams like that.
Yeah, so maybe what we should do is, do you think it would be reasonable, LoCo Council people and other people, that 3 emails over the period of a month, and if that's unfruitful, a couple of attempts at contacting team members?
That's going to be 2 months then.
Whatever the decision, probably need a predefined list for council members or for those who are helping them do this administration. Just like, this is what we do first, then we do this, so we have the IFC contact, and then maybe post messages in the mail list. If that all fails, then maybe just the last thing, just posting, if they have a full form, posting that message saying.
I think if none of the admins respond in a month, and you've tried contacting team members and there's no response, we have serious worries about whether that team should be in a approved state. To me, personally, I think that if none of the admins are responsive, that's worrying in itself. But there is a possibility that someone forgot to change the admin field in the team. So what we do is we find a new admin, and they're like, "Yeah, we've done all this cool stuff. No, we're fine." I absolutely that's what we do. And maybe what we do is just after the month, maybe just that first week, try and contact them, and then it's just over a month. Or make it, there's no time limit. I think it's just as long as we get them all over the next 6 months.
Yeah, the problem I have is that it could potentially drag out. You send 3 mails over the period of a month. then you get in touch with someone and he says, yeah, we're doing something, I'll come back to you, and then you wait another week, and then
So
you know,
we should fix
a month turns into 2
we should fix deadlines. I mean, the local council shouldn't be afraid of governing.
And should it be on our, should we have a page on the wiki which lists, or keeps track of what we're doing, so it's completely public and transparent? We contacted the following locos, 1, 2, 3 mails to these, so everyone can see what we're doing and who we're contacting.
So I think that's all.
And I think that would be, like, other local teams could encourage each other. If they see that you're contacting this team, and they're going, and somebody else from this other team knows these members are going, hey, you guys are up for, did you see?
Yeah.
In case they haven't responded, because sometimes life gets in the way.
I don't want to put pressure on people that, you absolutely must set up this meeting at this time, or we're just going to revoke, the team.
So why don't we? Okay, I think that's a really good idea. So I've just added something here, like better implement the reapproval process. Okay.
And document it as well, because we need to have. In my mind, there'd be a wiki page with the list of teams that are coming up for approval, the dates that we expect them to be done by, the hard dates. So after this date, if we haven't done it by this date, you're off the list. You're unapproved. And a link from there to a page that says what we expect, which will basically be the LoCo team approval information.
So why don't we figure out what materials we need to do this? So the first thing is going to be, you mentioned, Pope, the idea of having a page that tracks progress. So
we have the reports coming in, like the monthly reports. So maybe you should just stress them to do a lot more monthly report, or maybe not more. They're going to do it once a month, but make sure that every team is doing monthly reports and they're not going on as well.
So I think the first thing is we just need to figure out
how we manage the process.
Yeah, how do we manage the process, then we can decide on what the requirements are. So a progress tracking page set up, and so are you happy to make that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is the reapproval process documented anywhere about how it works? So someone can say, I'm in a LoCo team, they want to reapprove me, I can go read how this is going to work.
Because if they may be a different member from the last time, or if there's a different point of
I
contact.
don't think it is.
Okay.
Do we have a way for the local teams to respond with basically we don't want to be approved anymore? Right.
Yeah, that's an option I hadn't even considered, actually. What if they say, nah?
What prevents you to delete the mailing list, the wiki?
No, all we would do is just flick them off
Flick
the
them
team in Launchpad.
Yeah.
Just take them out of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it. They still have access to the resources.
But then the question is, what other services do they get?
Okay, so I'm just going to add here the reapproval process documented from the perspective of a LoCo team about to be reapproved. Who wants to do that?
I'll work on it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to put it down as Laura C because I still can't spell your last name.
Aww.
That's
Sorry.
CZ and then
Oh, I told you to dare.
CZ and Tau.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Tau.
It'll be soft.
That's what we call it.
It's longer than mayonnaise.
It's longer than mayonnaise. Is that the metric?
We're going to fill it fire range later on.
Alright.
I already said I wasn't going just in case,
Okay, so at that point we'll have a progress tracking page in which set up in which communications are logged with the teams going through the process. And then we're going to have a reapproval process documented. Okay, cool. Is there anything else that you feel is necessary? I mean,
I think, I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it's promotion of this process. So it's not just
awareness.
Yeah, awareness. So that it's not just the first thing they find out about it is an email from us saying, hey, you need to be reapproved.
So I think
Which I don't think people even know.
So I think we should create that as another thing. It's like just agree on a set of things that we feel like it will help spread the word. Maybe we can. So
I think LoCo contacts is one, but I don't think every LoCo is on LoCo contacts.
No.
they're not.
By a long stretch, yeah.
No.
That's
There's much poking to get my new contact on there.
maybe
They
that's
didn't know about it.
proviso for being an approved team.
It is. Okay, so in terms of the reapproval process, I'm conscious that Laura knows what to document.
I'll work with,
So I'm just thinking like things like we should document the deadlines. Like we talked about how, I'm just going to note what we agreed on here, which is 3 emails sent out to LoCo admins over the course of 1 month. If no response, the council member will approach known team members. If the council member does not feel that the team is responsive, thank you. So I basically said, so 3 emails go out to the local admins over the course of a month. If no response, the council member will approach known team members. If the council member does not feel that the team has been responsive, they should probably recommend a de-approval. Expectations for reapproval, to me, are the same for approval.
Have to be.
Although do we even expect more since they've been getting resources since they didn't have access to it
I
before?
don't think so. My function, I don't think so. I think they should just, we have a relatively well-known set of concepts that mean, you know, you're regularly doing stuff. Live.
So a page detailing what the reapproval process would be, which is linked to the approval process.
Yeah.
But, you know,
You're still maintaining this.
yeah.
And the only thing that can void that is, the only 2 things in my mind that can void that. First of all, you're not doing it. And secondly is that we can't get in touch with you to reapprove you.
Maybe you should just tell them when they're being approved in the first place. Like something like when a new team is being approved, you should really stress to them that they still have to keep going with the form to keep.
It could actually be quite good to put into the local directory next approval date.
Yeah.
In what?
In the local directory, maybe it should say next, like date of next approval
What, on the LoCo team's
page.
page? Well, that's effectively the expiration.
Yeah, we just put that.
Well, so you should reword, because it actually has got expiration on it.
Is it and the team information page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we just reword it to say next approval
Yeah,
date.
your wording is much better, much more positive.
Next
Expiration date is a little more like...
Expiration date sounds like you're right
Yeah.
to exterminate. And it also reminds me of milk going off, and I hate milk going off. So do you think that would be a useful addition as well? And we could maybe also just make it like October 2010, as opposed to the 6th of October 2010.
Yes, 6:15 a.m.
It has numbers, like all the way down to the microseconds a second.
So why don't I put that into the agenda item for our second local directory session?
Yeah.
Because that'll take Daniel 10 seconds to fix that. So change.
Sorry, Amber, what were you saying?
Well, you know how like in the cycles for like you have like the alphas and alpha 1, alpha 2, blah blah blah. That and it has that floating calendar sort of how the release cycle goes. Can you not have a floating calendar that doesn't have like necessarily hard dates, but has like the cycle of approval for like if you're reviewing teams in this
Well, they got
month, if you're
milestones,
reviewing teams because
Milestones, yeah.
you have the milestones, like, even if it's not like alpha 1, alpha 2, whatever, but you have first email, second email, but they're floating through the month.
can do
Like
that.
the process, like you have
You'll have that on the progress tracking page there.
right, but I guess I'm just trying to see, will the visual look like something like that, where you can just overlay it on a month and to explain it to people to get the word out to.
So what I'd recommend we do for the process page, for the tracking page, is you basically have a table that you just paste in there, and it says first email, second email, third email, follow up.
Do we put a note after it? Team responded,
Yeah.
like so.
Yeah. So you
first
basically
email, and then the result of that first email was team responded, they don't want to be reapproved, or
Yeah.
team responded, they need another month,
Yeah.
or whatever. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And then like first email, no response. Second email, no response. Third email, response. Blah 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 blah. Maybe that's it.
I guess my question was more general, not necessarily specific to a team, but when you're trying to get the word out and explain that this is the process that happens, very much like you see that floating agenda, it's that.
I'm not sure we should publicise the fact that we contact them 3 times.
You what?
I don't think we should say we're going to contact you 3 times.
Yeah.
It should be we will try and contact you. And internally, yeah, okay, we'll set ourselves a limit.
So why don't we do this then? Why don't you just list each communication? Email,
Yep.
date,
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah. And then internally,
Email,
we know
yeah.
we'll do it 3
Yeah.
times, and then it drops off.
So okay, so it'd be good to document the internal reference as well. Hang on a second. Change expiration date. I'm just noting this down. Change expiration date to next approval date for the LoCo directory. So in terms of the reapproval process, three emails sent out to reapproval. So Alan, would you be happy documenting for the LoCo Council how this works?
Once I know how it works.
Yeah.
Oh, that's there. The need for a response by sounds a bit forcible, like, kind of fuzzy deadline. Maybe a weird, I think.
Sorry?
No, like the
Question there, what about contact, first contact date and the response by date on the calendar?
I just think having an actual deadline would be kind of bad, like at least for the first email. Like maybe the third one you might say.
Yeah, I mean I think the 3 emails are like we just try and contact them.
A few times. Yeah, give them reasonable,
And it
so
doesn't have
that
to
it
be-
doesn't show that we're just emailing them once and then say, right, well, they didn't respond.
I think it doesn't even have to be.
I think we just have to be reasonable. about it.
Yeah, it means that we want a response in a month, which is reasonable. So document how the council member performs the reapproval process. And I'm just going to note down here, so you said, yeah, once you know how it works. So, in my mind, it would be, it's already in there. 3 emails sent out, no response, council member approaches another person. Once we engage in response, I'd say that they document the work that they've done to justify their reapproval.
They may well already be done.
Yeah,
So they
they
can
basically
point us
replicate
to-
the process for approval.
Yeah, exactly.
We just want to get contact and then replicate the process. Once contact is assured, they repeat the approval process. Is the council happy with the approval process and how that works?
In terms of it being, once we get them together, whether it's done by IRC or mail, I don't really care. So long as we have them showing us what they've done and we can take a decision
Yes.
either way.
Okay. But the council's, you're doing approvals, right?
Not at the moment, no.
There's no approvals going on.
Not right now.
Is that because no one wants to be approved? Or?
No, because the ball got dropped when Nick left and I was picked up.
Right. Okay. So we need to. Right. Is there a list of teams that want to be approved?
One.
They want to go through the approval process?
They add themselves to our
To your
agenda.
Agenda.
Yes. So we can add. They add the ones that where they want to be approved, and we can add ones that need to be reapproved.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just that those agenda items have not happened at the meetings. Of those meetings not happened.
Yes.
Okay.
What about Penn's question, if anyone's? What about
I already mentioned that.
I'm sorry.
What about what?
Can he read response by date? So it sounded like
Well, I don't think that's unreasonable because we've got a date that's set for our meeting. So
I suppose.
If we say, we need it by, where are we at the moment? November. If we say we need it by the end of December to fit January meeting,
Yeah.
then I don't think that's unreasonable to set the date.
Yeah.
I think, end of X month,
Yeah.
whatever month you're in, say it's the end of
You'd
the
ask them
following
to have
month.
a meeting, discuss it, and say that this is what we need to plan for. It's a reasonable, say, in a month or maybe 3 weeks.
I mean, it might well be that we don't need to have them in a meeting at all, because they could mail us and say, dude, look at our wiki page, look how much we do. And we on the LoCo Council can say, okay, it's pretty obvious they're doing a
But
fantastic
should you
bit of
not just
work.
have a meeting anyway, just for the minutes and for logs, just for the people that follow
Well,
on?
we've had people who say they can't do it on IRC because English isn't their first language and typing is slow. And
Yeah.
it becomes painful for them.
Well, then you keep a log of those. We're saying just basically for prosperity for the next set of council members, so they can see, well, this was done and that's how it was done, and they can see maybe the email or the email archive.
It'll be on the it'll be in the mailing list.
Yeah.
So but that's a private mailing list.
Yes. So then for the following local members, if they want, they can go check.
So you mean that the decision itself should be recorded in the meeting, even if there's no discussion?
Well, there will be discussion, but the discussion will either happen in an IRC meeting or it will happen on the mailing list. Generally.
Right. No, I was just trying to work out what you were trying to figure out, because it sounded like you were saying, well, as long as the decision to approve or however is recorded in the meeting, just so that you can go back and see it.
Well, if you take it that say, Ireland, right, my logo, if we're up for approval next month, right, and just say we don't get reapproved, well, or we will see the logs that actually what was discussed, if we went on IRC and what was pointed out. If it's a case of Ireland wasn't documenting enough for their events, so they can go, well, that's what happened, now we can know people for the next meeting, they just might need to update their wiki and just see, okay, X, Y, and Z needs to be redone and reassessed.
Yeah. We could say that at the meeting. So we discuss it on the mailing list,
Yes.
come to a decision on the mailing list,
Yeah.
but actually announce it in the
Yeah,
meeting, so it's logged.
That's what basically,
that makes
just,
sense.
just to have it logged somewhere so it comes on the local directory or whatever, or pending reapproval
You
on.
can just link to the
Yes.
IRC.
I think it's
So-
important to keep the meetings and logs just to transparency, but also just for the next people to learn.
So, thank you, Effie, for producing the list. I've added it to the GOBI document. What we now need to do is we now need to assign local council members to that, just to divide that list up. So,
Oh, very can.
Does that do good?
okay. So I've put it in the objective above.
Very good.
Scroll up.
It's
That. I put it into the objective.
It's under actions.
I see.
See it? Line 27 or whatever it is. Are you guys? Can you guys divvy that up between you?
Yes,
Okay.
that will be an awful lot easier once we have a number of extra members as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the first thing to do, get more members.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put here is assign reapprovals across the council members.
Yeah.
Gabby, if I stick with you on that, to just drive that forward.
Well, it might be easier for some people to pick them because I don't
I
know
mean-
what languages Effie knows.
No,
So
what I
he
mean
might
is,
pick some.
what I mainly mean is, just make sure that
It is done.
it's done. Yeah. Okay.
Belgium logo, I think. The animal place.
So yeah, so it should only take you guys like 10 seconds to do this, and then when the new members come in, you can always. Yeah. All right, wicked. So that's good. So one thing that concerns me right now is the fact that teams have not been getting approved. What's challenging?
Approved? Reapproved, you mean?
You said earlier on that teams are not getting approved.
No, I said teams aren't being reapproved. We haven't been doing the reapproval process.
Oh, so teams are getting approved though?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said earlier on that you
No,
weren't.
no, the approval process is working
So new teams really want to say, we'd like to be approved, that's happening, fine.
Yes.
Okay,
They put it
cool.
on the meeting, we have a meeting.
Good.
Next time.
It's kind of freaking out for a second. I was like, oh, LoCo Council's not doing anything. Okay, great. That's brilliant. So we just need to focus on the reapproval process.
Is streamable enough to actually approve a team, or like, is there any sort of minimum amount of people that has to be there for a meeting?
If to be core, as I understood from Daniel earlier, with a team of 3 people, it needs to be 2. With a team of
Is the majority.
It's just the majority.
yeah, but we're currently we've asked for nominations for new members for the LoCo Council, and that's been voted upon. And I don't think it's appropriate for me to say we had a draw. So we're now trying to figure out what we as in the CC is now trying to figure out what we do about the fact that we've got a draw.
Worst case scenario, just Mark does it.
Yeah,
Because
he's the one who
He's got veto.
We actually got everybody vote on our possible workaround other than OB and Mark. And
I'm sure that you folks could just get together at UDS.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're make it. So really, so it's just me and Daniel who haven't replied, and Mark.
the way everybody else has voted on our. So I think we can have it resolved by the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think we'll have it by the end of the day.
Okay. So I just want to review where we stand right now to make sure we haven't forgotten anything, because it sounds like we're really nailing down some details here. So we're first of all going to find a list of teams that the LoCo Council is going to target for reapproval. And Alan's going to make sure that all the approved teams that are on the wiki page are actually in the Launchpad team. And then Effie is going to make sure that he's going to determine the list of teams that are in Launchpad approved, in LoCo teams approved, that have not been through the reapproval process. So he's just done that for the first 30. So at that point, we'll have a list. The next step is to reapprove an agreed set of LoCo teams. So we've basically identified a set of teams that need to go through that process, and Popey's going to make sure that every team's got someone assigned to them. So Effie and Popey, are you happy with? Do you feel like that list is doable for the Lucid cycle? Is that too many? Too few?
How many per meeting? Well, some of them will be done offline. Some will say no. Some of them will be obvious. So probably only half of them would end up with a meeting attendance. I would add a guess. And between now and then, we've got 6 meetings. So, and we can add additional meetings if we wanted to.
Sure.
If we wanted to churn through them, we could have a LoCo Council meeting every other week.
And you've got some rocking teams here as well, like the Finnish team, the German team, which is going to be easy, I reckon, to go through.
We would hope so, yeah.
So, the California team, $8,000.
Hang on, California only just approved.
Yeah, just approved, yeah.
Yeah, so why are they on the list?
FE, the list is wrong. All right, so I'm going to knock them off the list.
Massachusetts team should be up for reapproval.
There's a lot that should be.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're happy with the list. That's great. So in terms of the reapproval process, Laura's let's implement and document the reapproval process. So Popey's going to set up a page in which communications are tracked, which is just a wiki page. The reapproval process is going to be documented by Laura, and I've outlined it there. And then Popey's going to basically document how, just for the council members, how this works. You know, update the process, update the page once you've communicated with them, that kind of stuff. And that's what we've got to do so far. That to me, is there anything else in terms of reapproval that we're uncertain about, that needs clarity?
Do they have right of appeal if we say you're not approved?
Sure, we have to communicate. And then they have the discussion how the community council is like all biased, sure.
Yeah.
Well, they'll only say that it's biased if you vote to against.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely that it wants to.
It should be obvious why they weren't reapproved if they're not reapproved.
Yeah. And if they take it to the community council, it's fine, because we've got documented evidence that the process that you folks have been through. I think that's brilliant. I think that's a good
check and balance.
It's a good step of next steps. We haven't talked about anything else. Is the local council happy to just focus on this for the cycle, or do you want to do anything else? What we didn't talk about is awareness of this.
That's the key thing that I'm concerned about.
So why don't we?
It will come as a bolt from the blue. We email those people.
So let's set another objective then. Improve awareness of the LoCo team reapproval process.
And I'm inclined to think it should come from either you or the CC that this is what the LoCo Council is doing to show that the CC has delegated responsibility. I mean, it's already true that the CC has delegated responsibilities to the LoCo Council for approving teams. But
I think it should be documented somewhere already, because we had the discussion in CC meetings already. We discussed it a number of times. Just need to dig it out again and remind everybody.
So the process is going to be documented by Laura, which I can point to. I get the impression of what you're talking about, Pope, is just like outreach, blogging, posting to LoCo contacts.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to commit to writing a blog entry, and I'll post something to the fridge as well.
okay.
So just like the reason why we come to this conclusion, the story behind it.
Yep.
So
Basically, LoCo Council is what we want them to continue to rock, and this is at least in part to motivate them to do that.
So why don't I commit to that?
It would also be good if we encourage teams to talk about the reapproval, like, hey, we approve.
Yeah. So, but I think the message should come from me. It should come from local council members as well. So would you write something up as well?
Yeah.
Just like, and it should also come from CC members. Daniel, would you be happy to write something up?
What do you mean?
Just basically say, this process is in place. This is, just another voice in the sphere, just saying, the reason why we have a reapproval process is because.
I'm just sure that if John blogs it and it goes on LoCo contacts, there will still be a significant number of people who will still not be aware of it. And I don't know how you reach them.
And you know what? If they're not aware of it, it's not a bad thing. If we blogged about it so people know about it, and it's been posted to local contacts, and we have it documented, the process documented. If people don't know about it, it's just because they haven't seen it yet, and they'll know about it when we email them.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll write a couple of blog entries up. I'll put down you and me for that, and then also post to the fridge. I'll do that. And then also post to LoCo contacts. My hunch is that should come from the LoCo Council. So, do you want to do it like FE or?
Yeah, we can do it.
I'll put it down.
Actually, it'd be nice to get it in. If we could get that announcement in multiple languages, even just the basics of, English, French, Spanish, German.
That's a good point.
Because then, and if your blog had a link to the LoCo contact mail in the archive that has it in 4 different languages.
Okay, so in the better implement the reapproval process, why don't we add some key translations? Translate.
I just don't want people to say, well, I don't read the English Planet Ubuntu, and all the mail on LoCo contacts is in English, so it's less relevant, so I don't read it.
So what languages? Who would be in here? Who would be happy to translate that into a language? David? Spanish?
For example, but we can even use the Ubuntu translators for that. If we've got
yeah.
If you have the post done up, or maybe link to
Yeah,
it on a
even
wiki page.
if I just ask for a volunteer and just say, can someone translate this?
Yeah. Do it written up on a wiki page, maybe an English version, a French version.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've done that in the
Yes,
past, and
actually,
it's worked quite well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So David, I'm going to send that to you.
I mean, you're really getting your community involved in translation, so yeah, good stuff. And they know about it.
Effie had a
Man
question about
with the plans, we
the
call it.
leadership code of conduct. He had a question on IRC. Is leadership code of conduct, I guess, the revision completed?
It's not changed as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay, so we have a pretty solid set of pretty solid set of agreements here, which I think is brilliant. That's a really good set of outcomes. We should register a blueprint for each of these so we can track progress. But I'm going to go and stick this right now onto the WCAR.
Yeah, that's 5 minutes now.
Yeah, we've got lunch next. So I'm just going to put this, hang on, and then we can all look at it. Look at all these roadmaps appearing. Ubuntu Liquid Remix. What is that?
Just one made out of water.
Wow. Roadmaps, Lucid, LoCo Council.
Ubuntu Liquid Remix is Willy Blend.
Okay, so just 1 second. Okay, so if you go to the roadmaps /Lucid/LoCo Council, I've documented it there.
Sorry, can you paste it in the IRC?
I'm not on IRC anymore. I'll paste it into the document. Okay, so just at the top of the roadmap in the copy document, it's just there. Okay, I think that's a really productive session. I think we really fleshed out some good stuff. So in terms of the would you be happy, Kofi, if I set you to the assignee for this in the blueprint?
For what?
For the Lucid plans.
Okay.
Are you Popey? Is your launchpad Popey?
Yes.
That's a Texas name, but.
Cool.
No, the first day will be too soon.
So I'm going to set that to approved. And started for implementation. Okay, so we're good. So anybody who wants to subscribe to that blueprint, you can go and LoCo Council Lucid Plans. And then I just recommend that you guys just document progress on that in the whiteboard.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to whack onto the whiteboard. I'm just going to basically take the take that whiteboard, do this.
Yep.
Anything that the other teams themselves do to help the
I think one of the things that
getting to the whiteboard now.
Could really help is